I'm under contract on a huge investment property that closes 10 days after the 2020 election, and I am losing my mind. Hey guys, today I'll be going over what I think will happen to the real estate market following this 2020 presidential election by using a bit of historical data. If you turn on the news right now, November 3rd is the day that the world ends. And you know what? Maybe it is. NASA just released a statement saying that there is a chance an asteroid will hit Earth on November 2nd. That's exactly why we need to limit our news intake. Just for those that don't know me, I have a few real estate investments. I've worked in the mortgage industry. I am currently a real estate broker, and I would consider myself a master's student of the industry. None of those make me an economist, but I'll be dropping some facts pulled from other sources. Plus, I'm currently under contract on my biggest investment property yet, which closes 10 days after this election, so I'm right there in the weeds with you. When Obama came into office during the recession in 2008, it took time to get the ball rolling because there are many levels of government and everyone has to sign off on policies and so on. And really not a single thing in government moves really quickly. Just think about the road construction in your area. Then Trump took over, and again, as the economy raged on, it was still called Obama's economy because of the long-lived effects and the policies. Eventually, Trump got his tax plan and markets shifted. Where I'm getting at with all of this is that if things move so slowly during transitions, why is the topic of this video even coming into question? Why is real estate during election years so important if changes aren't really implemented until much further down the road? The fact of the matter is that Americans, on average, can expect to own 3 homes in their entire lifetime. It's a massive decision and purchase, so being worried about the uncertainty that comes with a newly elected president is understandable. People fear change. When they get nervous, they don't make rational decisions, but rather, they make emotional decisions. That's really the key. There is way too much uncertainty, therefore the increase in the price of homes drops during an election year. But by just how much is this drop? For the past 10 elections, or about 40 years, the increase in price houses rise by about 4.15% per year. That sounds fantastic, right? Well, it depends on your perspective. That 4.15% is actually a drop of 1.5% when compared to the years prior to an election year. That 4.15% is also 0.8% less than the year following an election year. Let's put that up visually. An election year is a 4.15% increase. The year before is 1.5% higher in price, and the year after is 0.8% higher in price. Therefore, that election year sits in the middle of 2 better years, and this has been consistent for the past 40 years. Another graphic representation of this is from Freddie Mac themselves. On the far right column, you see the midterm years in between elections. The percent increase in house prices averages out to 4.37%, compared to 4.15% in the left column that shows the election years. It doesn't look like much, but that extra percentage amount can be worth thousands of dollars. And the last little snippet of data here. This is just California data, not national. I'm not in California, but it paints a similar picture to the information I just showed. Home prices rose 6% in years prior to an election year. Home prices rose only 4.5% during an election year. And then home prices rose 5.3% following an election year. Once again, election year has a slightly lower increase in prices. Aside from price, there has been another noticeable metric. From the last 13 presidential elections, researchers found that home sales activity dropped by 15% from October to November during an election year. The year after an election year, the decline in home sales activity is only 8%, demonstrating that it gets closer to normal once again. Once that uncertainty shakes itself off. Shake it off. That's cheesy. Should I keep that in this video? With that being said though, that 15% decline from October to November is almost immediately made up for and recovered by December immediately after that election. That's wild to think about. People are scared, so prices drop and the amount of sales drop. Then immediately after the election, even though the president is still the president until I think January of the next year, people immediately start going back out and buying and selling properties again. A quote from Myers Research puts this perfectly.
It isn't that consumers say I'm nervous and I never want to buy. They say, I'm nervous, let's just wait to see how things play out.
Of course, every election cycle is different and circumstances change. Things are really weird right now and people are really weird right now. But to help with this weirdness, people adapt and markets adapt. Check this graph out. This graph is even old now since I just got an interest rate below 3%. This one is higher than that. We are in a time right now where you can borrow a loan for a house with a lower interest rate than what you can borrow for buying a car just a few years ago. Now let's bring all this information into something that we can digest. I'm not going to pretend that I know what 2021 will bring, and if anyone tells you that they know what 2020 will bring, you should just nod your head in approval and walk away slowly. But what we can do is look at the data I just provided and make some interpretations. Historically speaking, an election year has a slight decrease in the increase of sales price, and home sales tend to slow down right up until the day after the election. That could be summed up to say that if you are a buyer, buying right now might be a great time to buy, in my opinion. Go get yourself a house right now while everybody is scared, in combination with these insanely low interest rates. Historically, looking at the data, you're better off buying during an election year than the year before, the year after. You may even get a seller who's extremely scared of what's to come from the election and wants to sell immediately at any cost. Imagine seller A and seller B. I'm about to get into some really touchy things here. Seller A thinks Trump is literally Hitler and is going to win 2020. This person needs to sell now and move to Canada before he starts rounding people up. Seller B thinks Joe Biden is the next Joseph Stalin and he's going to win the election in 2020. This person needs to sell right now before the government seizes their property and gives it to someone else who needs it. Those are exaggerations, but it's not that far off from what some sellers are thinking, which leaves you an opportunity to swoop in and buy off their fear. Please don't cry in my comments if one of these sellers is you. Just drop your address down below and I'll send over an offer. Moving on, I don't personally flip houses for many reasons, but it may be an intriguing idea using this data to buy a house in September of an election year, flip it, and then sell it in December when the demand floods back into the market. Again, if you're skeptical about who I am, who is this guy with only 1,000 subscribers? I'd rather watch Graham Stephan who has 2 million subscribers. Look, I love Graham Stephan too, but first off, smash that like button below, help the little guy out, although I feel like I'm growing pretty fast. Then subscribe while you're at it, because if you are skeptical, I am putting my money where my mouth is here. I am under contract on an Airbnb investment property in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. I close on November 13th, yeah, Friday the 13th of an election year, on the election of our lifetime, which I didn't hear that in 08 and 2012 and 2016 and now 2020. It'll definitely be this time. I am losing my mind, yes, but not because of the external market. I'm stressed because I've never had an Airbnb before. I'll be remodeling this entire place with these two bare hands, and it's a property that's not in my immediate vicinity. Once it is closed though, I'll be posting that journey on this channel here. To finalize this video, election years do have a minor impact on the real estate market. Is this something that I would really worry about? No, not really, based off of the historical data. And I personally think that this election is pretty close to 50-50. Real estate always increases in value and always has in most markets. Sorry, Detroit, you'll get back there. I believe in you. As long as you're not over leveraged and buy appropriately, as someone that is not your accountant, I'm a big fan of buying a property. I'll leave you with another quote from the famous Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors in recent history. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. Thank you everyone. Please consider subscribing to this channel and giving it a thumbs up. Those are 2 free ways for you to show your support for this channel. Peace.